Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast, a podcast about television. This is episode 9, the week of July 7th, 2023. My name is Drew Koenig. Joining me this week is Mads Misasi. Mads, how are you doing?
And how about you?
I'm good. How's your week been?
Busy. So it's the start of the month for, marketing. And so our monthly customers start all over again and we have meetings for each of them. So my week has been meetings and meetings and meetings, and my social skill level is at 0 right now because that's too many meetings.
Yep.
But I love my job, but I just don't like that part of my job. One week out of the month, I don't like my job.
Wait, right. Yeah, no, I get that. As someone who works in retail.
How was your week? With the holiday and everything.
Oh, this is actually... So, last week I said that Taylor Swift is coming into town. I wonder what kind of an effect this will have. It had an effect. Let's just leave it at that.
I'm sure it did.
An effect was had.
As someone who recently went to Ed Sheeran, I'm sure it did.
Yeah. I never again need to wonder, how much do Swifties drink? I know the answer to this now. It's fine. But yeah, because the Taylor Swift concert was last Friday and Saturday, I think, and then 4th of July was on Tuesday. So I've had a week.
Oh, I bet.
Yes. But beyond that, I have an amusing anecdote, real quick.
All right.
So the other day I saw a TikTok of this woman talking about how the Mormon Church apparently has collected this really impressive genealogical record of everyone. They have your family trees essentially, and it goes back really far. And so I saw that and I was like, interesting. I'm intrigued. So I went this resource that is owned by the Church of Latter-day Saints. And I started going through it, and it is a very an impressive and, quite frankly, startling amount of information on my family tree. I traced my mom's side of the family back to the 400s in Wales. They got a lot of information that should be alarming to people. But this isn't quite about that. So I was looking both at my dad's side of the family and my mom's side of the family. And I look at my mom's side of the family. My grandfather's grandfather. And I see a Koenig. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, am I on the right side of the family here? No, I'm on the right side. My grandfather's dad, his dad, was a Koenig. I was like, that's weird. So I went back to my dad's side. I was like, that's the same name. My dad's grandfather has the same name as my grandfather's grandfather. And it was the same person. I was like, oh.
Oh, geez. Oh, we got some.
So I called. Yeah, so I texted my sisters, and I called my mom, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Which may have been premature, because, as it turns out, my grandfather's grandfather would have been 4 when he had his son. So I'm going to say that part of this is incorrect.
Gotcha. Okay.
But for some reason, the Mormons have had it down.
They're like, we want to make this a little more widespread than you guys think.
Yeah, I'd like to make your family tree confusing.
They're just covering up their own shit. That's
yeah. So parts of my family may not listen to things I have to say for a while, because I rang a code red alarm that we have some weird incestuous bullshit in our family tree. It was so weird. I don't know how we got to the point of why is the main question I have. But to everyone, I would encourage you to do a little Googling about this and go to the Mormons website, because they've got all your family records and shit. It's real weird. Like, they have a better record of this than like Ancestry has.
Might have to look into that. I mean, I was adopted into my family, but like both my grandparents have passed on, and
Right.
before they passed on, they were only able to give us a partial family tree. So it's like I want to know more. So, that'll
Yeah.
be interesting. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, like I found like some dead ends, but like I said, I was able to go back like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Like to Wales and Ireland.
Nice.
I was happy because my dad's side of the family is German.
Mhm.
But one of my main questions was, is there any possible way we could have had anything to do with Nazis? Thankfully, no.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, because that's always
No one wants to be a Nazi.
no, or anything to do with Nazis. It's impossible. We moved to their side of the family moved to America long before World War II, so
Oh, good.
it's all fine.
Speaking of like family, like genealogy related stuff. So I went to a museum one time and they were talking about old world Italians that came over to America, like in those first waves of immigrants and stuff like that. And they're like, Italian American families have three things in their homes. They have a picture of the Pope, they have a picture of Jesus, and they have a picture of John F. Kennedy. And right after going to this museum, I went to my grandparents' house, and sure as fucking sure, they had all three. There was a picture of John F. Kennedy in their basement where we eat our big family meals at the holidays. There was a picture of the Pope and Jesus on the fridge.
Outstanding.
I was like, listen, at least they were right. They were not wrong.
At least they were right.
I was like, my family sticks to this stereotype. All right, cool. Because it didn't matter that JFK was an Irish Catholic. He was a good Catholic boy.
Right.
Good in quotations. We're not going to dive into that.
No, better not. To quote John Mulaney, we don't have time to unpack all of that.
No, we don't. But anyways.
So yeah, that was a fun couple days I had looking at that.
Oh, I bet.
Yes.
I'm just like trying to imagine if I had ever said something like that to my mom, she would have been like, "Are you okay? Do we need to have you checked out? Because like doesn't sound right." Blink twice if you need saving, Drew. Do the aliens have you?
I did, however, discover that like on my mom's side of the family, we had like an ancestor who was a brigadier general in the Revolutionary War.
Nice.
He was like a big time deal, like lower level Mason, but like a big time deal. I was like, okay, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, like Google says he's a bona fide Revolutionary War hero. So it's like, okay,
all right. I mean, that's cool.
That's cool.
And then on the flip side, my family has mafia members.
Yeah.
So we all win some, we lose some. And that's that on Weird Families.
That's that. That is that. Let's move on into the news for this week. And it was a pretty light week. Last week we talked a bit about SAG possibly striking. They had 1 day left on their deadline last time we spoke about this. That deadline has now extended to the middle of July, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's what they said it was.
So there's a bit more time for SAG to potentially strike or not strike. It sounds pretty certain that they are going to strike at this point, along with the WGA. So, once again, we will...
Will we have a fall television this year? Probably not.
Probably not. But, hang tight. We'll see what happens.
Hey, listen, as a professional writer in all aspects of my professional life, I'm 100% behind the WGA.
Right, yes.
Strike for your rights, babes. Like, keep going.
Yes. If we need to, we'll bring this back to 2020. I'm not scared.
Exactly.
I'm not scared. I'll watch... I said this last week. I'll watch competitive marble racing again. I don't care.
Listen, I have other things I need to do besides watching television. I will find something.
And on the topic of watching shows, I haven't really talked about this on the podcast, or if I have, it's been a while. I think I might have talked about it back on the Lost Cause pod. Each and every week, we keep on seeing news stories about streaming services taking shows off of their platform for tax write-offs, and these shows just not existing anymore. And I would like to offer some advice to the discerning listener. Obviously, I would never condone anything of illegality, but I will say a couple things. If you can get something on physical media and you can afford it, get it.
Yep.
Because it may not always be there. Like this, as someone who consumed media before the age of streaming, scarcity is the name of the game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You will one day we'll get back to the days of I love this thing and I cannot find it, or the music rights are so expensive that the DVDs themselves are very expensive.
Yeah, there's like a show that I watched when I was in middle school, and I distinctly remember watching it, and I can't find it anywhere. And I was like, did this thing really exist? So I Googled. It does exist. It just, you can't find it anywhere, not even on like physical format. Like, it's nowhere.
But short of that, I would really like to offer two pieces of advice that you can connect them if you so choose. The first is that when I was growing up and well into like my teenage years and into my 20s, my dad burned everything onto CD-ROMs and DVDs. Make that of what you will. Also, you can get a VPN for not very much. That's all I'm going to say on those two things.
The other thing I'm going to say is that you can find anything on the internet if you ask the right questions.
What?
Make of that what you will.
Make of that. So those three pieces of advice, not saying they're connected in any way, shape, or form, that can be prosecuted, but I
kind of want to
let you all make your own value judgment.
I want to expand a little on that whole deleting things from streaming and all that stuff. Like, it's always been a thing that's been around. Like, they get rid of media, things happen, whatever. But I feel like lately it's been, okay, this show ended a week ago, we're taking it down. And it's like, but who's had time to watch it? Like, not everyone can sit and watch this week to week, So it's like, you're not giving it the chance to have an audience because you're taking it down right after it ends. Yeah. And there's one show in particular that if anybody follows me on socials will know exactly what I'm talking about. And it happens, and I'm not saying that this is a reason, but it also happens to be a very heavily queer media thing. So make of that what you will.
Yes. And on that subject, a little update from the past couple weeks when we talked about this. Star Trek Prodigy is now having a DVD release date.
Oh, good.
So there will be a physical format for this in particular.
Nice. There is another certain show that, again, if you follow my socials, just speak to me in DMs and I can tell you where to find it. Exactly.
Yep.
I'm not going to be implicated in this. But...
No. You're not taking me down.
We didn't say what my socials were, so you have to know who I am. So there's that small window of legality there. Anyways.
So that's all the news we have for this week. It's pretty light.
I was trying to think if there was anything. Yeah, there wasn't.
It's the calm before the storm. I know how this works.
Yeah.
I know how this game is played. I've done this for long enough. Should always be suspicious when the studios are not talking.
Yes. Well, and that's so I'm in a Discord with fans of the show Our Flag Means Death, and we got renewed for a second season a year ago. And they finished filming back in like September-ish, I want to say. Maybe it was later than that. I forget, but it was months ago. and they've just finished like visual effects and all this stuff. And I'm like, I hate that Max doesn't promote anything until like 2 weeks before it comes out. They're like, oh, 2 weeks from now we're releasing this, and we're like, we would have liked to have had a release date like a couple months ago so we could have prepared. And like, so we don't like this radio silence right now. We're like, are we getting our season, or are you guys just gonna shelve it even though it's filmed? Which they do that sometimes too.
Yep.
Yep.
It's also been a unfortunate occurrence.
Yeah. Oh, when you've worked television long enough, you know all the tricks.
Yeah, no.
Which is either good or bad, however you want to look at that situation.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to cut to an ad real quick and be right back with the GOAT.
This episode is brought to you by Zencastr. As some of you all know, I've been podcasting for the better part of a decade now, and I have done a number of podcasting options, hosting, and software, and Zencastr is by far the easiest that I have used in that time. It has never been easier to record a podcast than it is with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record stereo quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Zencastr has multi-layered backups that ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. Even if the connection is unstable, I cannot count the number of times that I've lost podcast episodes or otherwise perfectly good quality just because of a dumb technical snafu. You don't have to worry about that with Zencastr. It is all in one. Ever thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools, you need a lot of different services? Podcasting can be a lot of money. I know this all too well. With Zencastr and its all-in-one platform, you can create your podcasts all in one piece and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and what other podcatching devices you want your listeners to find you on. To sign up, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code DHARMA, DHARMA, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all of my podcasts and content need. It's time to share your story.
All right, so we are back with the GOAT, which is a recurring segment I do every week with a guest where we nominate a best TV episode or character and pit them up against each other on a poll on Twitter and TikTok. And be sure to check both of those pages throughout the week because I am uploading videos from this podcast, little clips and snippets for you to enjoy, and link back to our page on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. So last week's pick, where I nominated Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor, and Sam nominated Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 10, The Last Generation. Went up against each other. I won that poll. I'm not used to winning this many times in a row with these polls. My reign of terror surely will never end.
That's what you think.
That's what I think. We'll see if this...
Maybe I'll tear you down.
Maybe. It's possible. I would love nothing more. I thrive in adversity. So, since I won this last week, I am going to go first in my presentation.
Okay.
I just spent a lot of time thinking about this and what I wanted to do. But I came back around to thinking about the Silo season premiere. I was thinking about post-apocalyptic, dystopic, badass mechanics force who have been doing things they'd rather not be doing and would really rather just be in a shop fixing things for a guy that probably doesn't deserve her. And that brought me back to Raven Reyes from The 100, played by Lindsay Morgan, who, characterization in the later seasons aside, and The 100 is something that I have complicated feelings over it.
I think we all do.
I talk about the 100 alarmingly and how complicated my feelings of the show are. But for a character that did not exist in the source material and was brought to life like really brilliantly and powerfully by Lindsay Morgan, and just the moment she came onto the screen was a powerhouse that took over the show. Like, I heard something recently that Raven was supposed to die early on in the show, and I physically cannot imagine what that looks like because she is such a powerhouse of a character. She has so much presence. She is just like the ultimate and like a capable character who could potentially be classified as difficult, you know, like falling into like this newer, more interesting category of like female characters who aren't easy. Like, it's not that they are, you know, the strong, confident women. They are just not easy women. Like, they are complicated, complex, and extremely competent. And like often bumped heads against each other. She was brash, sometimes a little bit violent, like offering just a, you know, a pyromaniac who just like wants to blow up a bridge. Like there's something like really simple and endearing about like the kind of like catharsis that like Raven Reyes possessed, and especially like throwing her into like the middle of a love triangle that just, while not a good love triangle, like the way that she navigated it, and like just again like the really raw performance that Lindsay Morgan gives it is just phenomenal from like top to bottom. So that's my pick.
All right. So it's funny you say that because like those characters, watching Silo this week, and I crammed most of the series this week because I was way behind. But anyways, it made me think of last summer when there was a character on a television show that a lot of people didn't like, and I absolutely freaking adored her. And she was strong, and she was independent, and she had her own mind despite what the men around her were telling her what to do. She was like, saying, no, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to still get it accomplished what needs to be done. And I'm talking about Reva, or the third sister from the series Obi-Wan Kenobi. She got a lot of flack in the quote unquote fandom space because they didn't like her. She was new. They felt like she wasn't a developed character. And I loved the idea of she survived a massacre of younglings when she was young, joined the man who massacred her friends to take him down from the inside, but let him believe that she was also after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, it was just genius. And I think she doesn't get enough love. And she's one of the best characters I've ever encountered with television. And I just wish there'd been a little bit more of her in the series. It was a very short series. So there wasn't, they had to divide time, and it wasn't a series about her. But yeah, Reva from Obi-Wan Kenobi was hands down one of the strongest female characters I've ever seen.
Oh, this is gonna be such a fun TikTok post when I do this. Oh, this is gonna be so great. I'm sure everyone will respond rationally and.
Oh no, I'm sure they won't. I'm sorry for you on that.
Judging on some of the flack Sam got for her pick last week.
Yeah, I saw some of that. But here's the thing. Who's gonna for the female characters if not for people like us? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
A lot of female characters get torn down by quote unquote this white men who don't like them.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yep. It is funny every time. It seems like every time I do a goat, there's like a weird commonality between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it always just seems to work out that way somehow. Like, there's some underlying theme that like me and the guests never know about because I don't tell anyone what my picks are gonna be.
Yeah, no. Because, you tell me, here's what the goat is. And I'm like, all right, so I have an idea for either an episode or a person. And, I was like, whatever Drew does, I'll go with whatever pick coincides with that. So, and there we go.
There we go. So yeah, that is Raven Reyes from The 100 going up against Reva from Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's fine.
So you will have 2 days to vote on this on Twitter and TikTok. And do try to like and share it on whatever platform you happen to be seeing this on. And try to be civil on TikTok about this, guys. Shouldn't have to tell grown adults this, because I don't want to. Contrary to what some of you all may think, I do not, in fact, want to mock you, but you leave me in the position where I must mock you. Thank you. So I want to do a segment we did a couple weeks ago, the take, which is just any take, hot or cold, that you may have. I'm just going to do this really, really quick.
Okay.
It's funny that you brought up Star Wars, because
Okay.
I have a Star Wars themed one, and this has been bugging me for a while, but it just keeps recirculating in my brain. It keeps coming up online, so I have to say this.
All right.
The lightsaber colors don't fucking matter. I'm tired of hearing nerds talk about this. The only lightsaber color that matters is red. The rest of them are bullshit. They don't mean anything.
With one exception, Mace Windu is purple because that's what fucking Samuel L. Jackson wanted.
That's my point. That's my point. There's no deeper meaning to Mace Windu's lightsaber. It's purple because Samuel L. Jackson wanted it to be fucking purple. I can't keep doing this with you all.
It's not like on Teen Wolf where the werewolf's eyes are different colors if they've killed someone or not. Like, fucking lightsabers. It's just
colors.
Luck of the draw. It's luck of the draw, bro.
There's not going to be a deeper meaning to it. George Lucas, I'm just going to tell you all outright. George Lucas didn't care. He didn't give a shit. He and everyone else just thought they looked fucking cool. You all need to accept this. There's not, like, deeper meaning behind the lightsaber colors, or if there's any meaning behind, like, the shape of a lightsaber, it's because practicality. It's not anything foundational. Like, I'm tired of having this conversation with you all.
I can guarantee you that some of the design of the lightsaber comes from the actor playing the person wielding the lightsaber. Like, they have input. They say, oh, this seems better to fit in my hand. Let's do it this way. Like, that's literally all it is. There's no other rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah. I'm tired of you all finding, like, thematic purpose behind, like, oh, he had an orange lightsaber. This means that. It doesn't. It doesn't. It really just doesn't.
Oh, that's a great hot take.
Thank you.
It's a great one.
Thank you.
It's a fantastic one. And I'm always down to talk about Star Wars because that's my comfort. Like, I will always. We did a Star Wars Day celebration thing with some friends, and we were like, oh, like, let's do fun PowerPoint presentations on something Star Wars related. And I was like, okay. I came to the table with a 14-slide PowerPoint about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and everyone else had like 4 slides about something silly like Luke Skywalker's outfits were very gay coded. Like, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna walk away now.
See, this is why I couldn't be trusted to do that, because it would just be like a 50-point slide on like why Star Trek is better than Star Wars.
I mean, listen, it depends on your personality type, like with regards to space-related fantasy sci-fi stuff.
It is. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. But
I still like Star Trek too, but Star Wars is definitely higher up.
Also, like, Star Trek is just better than Star Wars. Like,
anyways, we're not gonna get into that argument.
Get into that.
Oh man.
Now let's jump into our main part of the show. So our first show this week, which is definitely me cheating and completely disregarding the entire purpose of this podcast. I'm going to talk about the new movie on Netflix, Nimona, which is an adaptation of the comic series by Nate Stevenson, who also did She-Ra, Princesses of Power, and he did, or they did, also did Lumberjanes, and has worked on a number of things throughout the year. And I'm on record as loving She-Ra, Princesses of the Power, so I was really excited about this. And Nimona is something that's been years in the making to get off the ground and like find a good home for it. Everyone was pretty worried when like Blue Sky went down because it was part of Fox and got bought out by Disney. And this is an aggressively, to put it kindly, not a Disney property.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So the existence of Nimona is a minor miracle in and of itself. So
I will say you're not really cheating if a TV review website that I work for would be willing to review it because it's on quote unquote streaming.
That's true.
So technically you're not cheating.
That's true. It's true.
Technically.
Technically correct, which is
we're going with technicalities this week, guys.
to quote Futurama, it's the best kind of correct.
Exactly.
So what did you think about Nimona?
I am not someone that watches a lot of animated content. I will occasionally pick up an anime or an animated film if one, I'm watching it with my niece who is 6 years old, and she's like, let's watch whatever it was called. And I was like, sure, let's do that. Or if it's like a queer related anime, and I'm like, yes, queer, I want to see it, like best kind. So I was like unsure how I was going to feel going into this because I was like, I don't really do this. But I ended up absolutely adoring it. I literally wrote in my notes, I love a chaos demon. That is what I said about Nimona herself, because she is a chaos demon and we love chaos. Chaos is fun.
Yes.
And there was a lot of like heartwarming moments, but there was also moments that I could understand from a trans perspective about certain things that Nimona dealt with, but also that, what's his name? I can't even think of his name right off the top of my head. Bao also dealt with. So like there was a lot of emotionality in it that really connects to a queer or trans experience, and I think that's something that's always beautiful when you get that kind of representation, whether it's intentional or not.
Right. Yeah. I think both of us being non-binary people in general just kind of get that.
Listen, I would love to change it to a pink shark. Okay. Can I evolve into a shark whenever I feel like it? Come on.
Yeah. No, I love Nimona. It's also perhaps one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. I'm gonna try to explain this in the right way.
Do tell.
So, the idea of shapeshifters is something that I have been obsessed with my entire life. When I was in the 6th grade, I wrote a short story about this. There's like this military base, and a shapeshifter comes on and like turns like a scientist into a shapeshifter. Like it's a whole weird ass thing. But like this started me on like being just like fascinated and obsessed with shapeshifters, and like there's a story that I've been working on for years that I've just been trying to crack about like a kind of like chaotic neutral shapeshifter.
And then along comes Nimona.
And I'm just like, God damn it.
You're like, I should have thought of it first.
Right. Yes. But it's funny, like someone said that like Nimona the comic was like, this kind of like subversive, subtextual trans allegory.
Mm-hmm.
And this is fuck subtext. We're going full text, baby.
Full text.
Full text.
We love it. We love it.
Subtext for cowards.
And I love that, like, the overlying message of it is, just because we're different doesn't mean we're a monster. Like, that was the whole point of this, is that, like, everyone immediately called him a monster because they thought he's the one that killed the queen.
Mhm.
Okay, well, he didn't actually do it. They didn't wait for evidence. They were just like, monster. They thought she was a monster because they saw her change into another creature. Like, monster. I'm like, no, I think that makes her cool. What the fuck's wrong with you people? Like, so it's really definitely that message of take time to get to know someone, because just because they're different from you in a big way doesn't mean they're not the same as you in smaller ways.
Right. Yes, definitely.
Look below the surface. Which we know in today's society is very hard for many people to do.
Yeah. But yeah, like this is just so fucking delightful. Like the ways that they animate Nimona, I'm like, between just having like making her look like this demented gremlin with like the pointy teeth and like the kind of like fanged look that she has of just like euphoric
when
glee.
she's like, we win. It's like, yes. Oh yeah. That's all of us. That's our inner demon child.
Yes. And like Chloe Grace Moretz is just so good in the role. Like she is taking everything up to like 10, and it's so good. It's so great. Like there's a scene where she's talking about someone losing their arm, and she just gets like this demented look and goes like, "Did they let you keep it?" And it's so good. It's so good.
I know, because you have to think about, like, these actors are literally standing in a booth saying these lines. Like, you have to think of how much crazy must have been going on in her head for her to be like, for Chloe to be like, "Did they let you keep it?" It's just like, I could imagine her facial expression saying that line in the booth. Like, oh, it was fantastic. And Riz Ahmed was phenomenal as Bao. Like,
Yeah.
perfect casting all around, honestly.
Yeah, and like this isn't necessary in casting. Like, there's been a lot of discourse around like this in particular, but like Chloe Grace Moretz being queer in real life, like, does lend a lot.
Yeah,
like it doesn't necessarily lend her more than like Riz Ahmed, who may or may not be queer, but like there is something so palpable to it.
Also, the same goes for I can't think of his name, but Bao's boyfriend, because he's played by Eugene, and Eugene is queer as well, and he plays a queer character. And it's like those people that try to make that argument of, well, straight people can play queer characters too, and it's like, but there's not the same energy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand if you haven't lived that queer joy experience,
right,
or that queer fear experience, because there's moments of both in this movie, and you have to know both sides of that to really give it authenticity.
Yeah. Like, you, if you're straight, you can play gay characters. Like Rachel Sennott and Shay Mitchell are like walking advertisements for this, but
right. You can.
But it is they're when you're talking about authenticity, and like I said, that's not necessary, but it's so additive. And also having like actual trans or trans adjacent people in this, like India Moore or RuPaul, like it's so important. Like, it's just so deeply
important. I agree. I'm just like, yes. I have nothing else to add.
Yes. And again, like, this coming from a trans masculine writer, you know.
Yep.
The way that Nate Stevenson identifies is really complicated, but
Well,
it is 100% theirs. But like,
and the good thing about this is, I'm in a Discord space that has a lot of trans related or trans adjacent people. And we all had lengthy conversations after viewing this film together. Like, we did a watch party together and we watched it all. And then, like, we had lots of trans conversation about it. So it's like doing what it's supposed to. It's giving, it's opening the door for further conversation. And that's the beautiful thing about this. It's beautiful on its own merit, but like the after effects are even just as beautiful.
Yeah.
And just as strong.
The only real marks against this is I wish it was a series as opposed to a movie. But as I said, Nimona's existence at all is a minor miracle. Like, so like any hope for like, oh, maybe this could be a TV series, maybe this could be a sequel, that's probably not going to happen, because like, as I said, like, journey from like Blue Sky to Disney to Netflix, like, this had to be picked up by Annapurna and then brought to Netflix. Like, so many specific things had to happen.
Yeah. It was exhausting enough of a journey. We're like, okay, we got here.
Yes. I am extremely happy that like just how blunt of a commentary this movie is. So, especially like when you consider like Nate Stephenson's journey too. Like, if you go back and like look at their like old Tumblr posts about Nimona, it's like this resonates with me for some reason, and you're like, oh, bud.
Oh, honey. Oh, man.
Yeah, no. I followed Nate for many years, and one of like their favorite characters is Zam from Star Wars. Zam Wessel from Star Wars, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, that realization when I came out as non-binary trans masc, that, oh, there's a reason why all my favorite characters are male.
Right, yeah. No,
okay.
I had the same thing
like,
of like,
oh, okay.
yeah. No, I had the same thing of like, oh, maybe it does mean something that like I was really fascinated with like a shapeshifter, and like my favorite characters are like queer women, and I gravitate towards women in my life. Could there perhaps be a correlation here?
I don't know, Drew. I don't know.
I
don't know. There might be, but more research is needed. We got to watch more stuff. We have to watch more queer stuff. We have to find this out. Which, actually, speaking of awakenings, one of the other things we are going to talk about really delved into something of an awakening for me. So we'll get to that eventually tonight.
So let's move on to our next show. I said this to you offline, but everyone always talks about queer joy or queer tragedy. We got queer menace here. We got queer mess.
Yep.
And to keep in that line, we've got the Ultimatum, Queer Love,
which was the ultimate queer mess.
Queer mess.
It was the ultimate queer mess. And this is actually the show that kind of gave me a little bit of an awakening. Oh, not because it made me realize I am chaotic and messy and should be on a dating show. No. I realized that I am very, very attracted to women that dress as men or are non-binary and dress masculine. Like,
I cannot disagree with that.
Xander was, I was really feeling some things for Xander. And I'm like, you're the least chaotic of this group of people. You're also still messy. Like,
oh yeah, deeply messy.
Deeply messy.
Here's the thing. There are no good guys in the Ultimatum. But boy, are there some villains.
Holy, listen. Are we going to talk about Mildred and Tiff? Because
I feel like we have to. I feel like we should keep this conversation as contained as we can to the reunion.
Yes.
Because there's just there's so much there. But before we do that, I'm not convinced. I'm not fully convinced that
Yeah.
this is not some weird psyop to make people homophobic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying no, because here's the thing. I don't watch reality dating shows. Like,
No,
that's
me
just
neither.
not my thing. And so, like, I went to my really good queer friend Rob and I said, Rob, you watch this stuff. And he goes, sometimes. And I go, have you watched this one? And he goes, no. Should I be scared? And I go, don't watch it. It's too messy. And he goes, okay, your idea of messy might not be too messy for me. So he watched it and he's like, oh shit, this was messy. And I go,
shit.
yes, it was messy. And this is coming from a cis queer man. Like, he's like, these women are nuts.
They
Like,
are out of their minds. No,
but
I keep seeing.
it doesn't paint the queer community, especially the lesbian community, in a good light. And I don't like that.
No. I think it's just these are people out like their most chaos.
I mean, there's money and cameras involved.
It's funny because I see a bunch of like these girls on TikTok. I make this joke a lot, but every time like I make an account, TikTok goes, so this is the part of TikTok you belong on, and I go, this is confusing but affirming. Thank you. So I see all these girls, like I see Lexi and Ray and Xander on TikTok, like all the time.
Of course they are. Of course they
so
are.
Like even then, like I knew kind of like what happened with Lexi and Ray's relationship. I even watched it.
Yeah.
Which was like I got because like Lexi and Ray's relationship is kind of like the one to root for in a certain sense. Like
yeah. It was the one that I was like, okay, these two are going to make it. These two are going to work their way through their mess. You know, they're going to get to the other side. They're going to get married. They're super young, but like they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And the only couple that ended up being still standing at the end of the reunion, I was like, I did not see that from any distance.
No.
Like, that one looked like you were going to be dead upon arrival. Like, you did not. Ozzy did not convince me that Ozzy would grow enough to be anything more than, oh, I'm quitting before we get to the end.
Right. Yeah. So like Lexi and Ray, like they are like the relationship. There's a certain part of me that's like, I fundamentally don't understand this because there is a 0% part of me that would ever publicize my relationship like this.
Yes.
In a million years. Like I would never put this much of a spotlight on it. And like if I wasn't sure that someone wanted to marry me, I would not take it to this kind of place.
Right, you don't put a camera crew, the idea of 15 minutes of fame and money in front of someone and be like, we should get married.
Right. And and also, hey, I'm gonna break up with you now, and we're gonna see other people.
Yeah,
that's insane to me. Like, my brain can't comprehend that.
So, like, as much as I didn't really like Vanessa that much, I felt like she was fake and annoying, and she's that type of girl that terrorized me in high school. So I'm like, no, I don't like you. Like, immediately I was just like, I don't like you. But her stuff that she would say about Xander cheating and stuff, and I'm like, where she's coming from? Because, like, yes, technically they're broken up, but like, it's sudden. There's no like stopping point really. It's just, oh, we're on a TV show, we now have to go live with someone else for 3 weeks. Like, that doesn't feel like a breakup. So like, I completely understand her being hurt by those actions, you know? And it's just like, okay. Oh boy.
Yeah. And like, there are times that like Lexi doesn't look very good throughout it because it looks like she's very obsessed with Vanessa.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, in regards to like Vanessa and Ray together. One of the things I saw her talking about on TikTok was that like their rooms were like really close together because like all these girls are located in like those 3 kind of dorm buildings, and Lexi and like Vanessa, I think it was either Lexi and Vanessa or Lexi and Ray were like 3 doors down from each other.
Jesus Christ. Well, okay, Vanessa was with Ray, so they had to, Vanessa and Ray had to have been 3 doors down from Lexi. Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I can't.
Yeah.
This is way too much for me.
Like the
literally I was cursing you when I had to watch this because I was like, God damn it. This shit's crazy.
But
let's just say cameras and fame show the toxicity of someone so clearly.
No, yeah. No, there was one legitimately funny moment in, like, I think it was the first episode where Lexi and Xander are on a date,
and
Lexi is
well endowed.
She's well endowed. She was gifted, shall we say?
Oh, is this the part where Xander like can't stop staring?
Yeah, it's the part where Xander can't stop staring, but also Xander is trying to explain that how beautiful they think Lexi is, or how attractive they think Lexi is, and they just can't quite find the right words without saying
your boobs.
That she has really big boobs.
I do remember that moment. I was just like, so
I
I had my own hilarious moment that really wasn't that hilarious, but to me it was hilarious. So I have an older sister who's overly dramatic for no reason, right? And one time she went to the mall with me and my friend Rob, and I'm the one that was driving, and she got frustrated and fed up with me, and so she stormed off screaming, "I'm leaving." So like she just was like not having it, and Rob and I reference it every once in a while whenever we like are bored or something. We'll be like, well, "I'm leaving," and whatever. But she made me think of her when Ozzy just like up and left while Mildred was out of the apartment. Ozzy's like, I'm not gonna stand for this drama and this not listening and all this stuff. And I'm like, Ozzy, you don't even talk to her. What are you talking about? That's why I was like, Ozzy's not gonna make it. Like, Ozzy is dead and gone. Like, but yeah, fun little funny moment for me.
So let's pivot at the reunion, which is fucking wild. I don't know what the producers were thinking. Like, let's just talk about Tiff and Mildred. Like, they mean to tell me that there is a criminal arrest record of Mildred throwing a baby gate at Tiff. And they were like, yes, we should still have these two people in the same room together after a domestic violence incident.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, there's no way you didn't like read weather report on these women before you started bringing them all together. Like, there's no way you didn't already know this information. So like, how dare you do that to people that are A, super toxic towards each other, and B, like, I have sympathy for Tiff. I don't know the whole story, but like I feel like Tiff is probably leaning more towards the whole story than Mildred, because I feel like Mildred's just like, I'm never wrong. I'm never bad. It's all everyone else's fault. And like Tiff ended up being the one that left. So clearly there's more hurt on Tiff's side than there is on Mildred's.
Right.
And I'm just like, why did you do that to Tiff? Like, that's like, going to dramatically alter their brain chemistry for months.
Yeah. Like,
are you paying their therapy bill?
That was okay. That was the other crazy thing. One of the girls, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Xander. Said that the pitch that they got from the Ultimatum was that it was going to be a therapeutic experience, implying that there would be legit therapy on this show.
Oh.
And there wasn't.
No, there was not. There was exploitation.
Yeah.
But there was no therapy.
There was no therapy. Also, this is kind of a side tangent, but kind of goes to like some of my problems with the Ultimatum is they don't put any emphasis on any of their pronouns. They aren't shown on screen. It's not referenced.
I had to actually Google it
Yeah.
because I was like, I want to know which ones are non-binary because I can tell that some of them are. And I was like, I want to know their pronouns. And I love that Googling it, I found out that Ozzy just is Ozzy. That's Ozzy's pronouns, Ozzy's name, Ozzy's everything is Ozzy. And I'm
Right.
like, I love this. you go, Ozzy. You are the most traumatically damaged, but you go, Ozzy. See, there were times where I related to Ozzy because I grew up in a family situation where my parents wanted perfection and punished me for things that were out of my control, and so like I understood Ozzy and on some level. So like there were moments where I enjoyed myself like watching this. I was like, oh my god, I understand this panic attack this person is having. Okay, I get it. Like I understand their sorrow and their upset, legitimate reasons. But then 2 seconds later, it would be two girls going at each other, trying to be nasty to each other for just the reason of drama. And I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I was team Yoli and Xander for the longest time, and then I realized that Yoli just is a player, and I'm like, no, I don't get behind that. I don't get behind that.
Yeah. No, like if you're looking at like the winners and losers of the reunion, Vanessa was actually somewhat well behaved for Vanessa.
Yeah.
Probably for a normal person, but like for Vanessa, she was very low key. Like she just kind of sat there and like stirred the pot a little bit.
But, yeah, but
like,
that's her personality.
Stirred the pot of, like Yoli, but like
being more honest. Like
yeah,
that's the thing is that, yes, she stirred the pot, but she forced Yoli to tell the truth. Like
yeah, Yoli was not going to. Yoli sucks. Yoli, yeah. Yoli consoling Mildred after it came out that like she's potentially a physical abuser. Like fuck Yoli.
The moment I stopped being Team Yoli was when I realized how close Yoli and Mildred were, and I'm like, that's a big fucking red flag because Mildred's a walking red flag. So it's like, okay, nope.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're Latinas? You're both Latinas? Is that why you're best friends? Like, oh, you understand each other. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I saw. I felt like Yoli was just like gaslighting and manipulating her entire way through that reunion.
Oh, definitely. Who was Yoli's partner's name?
Mel.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Mel.
I loved them, and I felt bad for them.
Yeah.
Because they got the shit stick the whole time. Mm-hmm. The whole time. They were gaslit the whole time, and they deserve better. Mm-hmm. Don't date Yoli.
No, don't date Yoli. Like, Xander can do so much better than Yoli.
I know. That's the only thing I have to say negatively about Xander. Like, you are in love with Yoli, and Yoli's a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
But I am proud that Xander's like, I'm growing on my own. Like, I'm learning to be my better self by myself. And I'm like, that's good. Good job.
Yeah.
At least you learned something from this bullshit. Oh, anyways.
Yeah. No, I was talking to my sister about the show, and I was like, this entire thing, like, kind of flies in the face of, like, every lesbian stereotype we have ever heard of, like, because it'll be like, we've been together 4 years, and I still want to get married to her, and it's like, isn't the whole stereotype that, like, we're going super, like, light speed at this? Like, we are bucking stereotypes something right here.
Yeah, the whole like, I literally kept thinking of the U-Haul lesbian thing.
Yeah.
And like some of them weren't even really living together at the point of going on the show, and I'm like, don't you guys move in after the third date? Isn't that the whole? Isn't that or is that just is that a incorrect stereotype? Sorry, guys, I'm being bad to the queer community.
Yeah. So some of the most fun I've ever had was explaining the U-Haul trope to my mom. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Tell your parents about U-Hauling. It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I literally put in my notes, the reunion was bananas.
Yes. Out of this world. And also, they couldn't have gotten an actual queer person to host this show. Like
yeah.
That's wild.
But listen, she at least knows what a power bottom is.
That's true. I did love at the beginning of the show where the girls are like, "Oh, we heard that you're straight," and they ask it like, "Did you get lost? How did you get here?"
She's like, "I'm not queer," and they're like, "You're not?"
You're not.
And I was like, I literally paused for a bit, and I was like, "Then why are you hosting?
Why are you doing this?" Like,
I mean, I love you. You're a sweet person, but like, why are you hosting if you're not in the queer community?
Yeah, and you don't. That's the other thing of like, since this is such like the queer take on like the Ultimatum, it feels too much like just translating heterosexual relationship dynamics to queer relationship dynamics, and those are not the same. You know,
I also would have liked to have had it be a mix, both male, female, gender non-conforming. Like,
right?
I get why that might not be easy to do, but like if they can do it with heterosexual couples, clearly they can do it with both genders. So like, or all genders, I should say, not both, all genders. And it's like, I wish there had been a bit more of that. Like, not that it's not great to see a bunch of lesbians, but like,
right.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, there's another show. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's on Paramount, I think. It's called Love Always.
Okay.
And it is kind of a traditional like bachelor show, kind of. Except it has the bachelorette in this case is a pansexual woman, and she has like a roster of men and a roster of women that she's trying to work
to. Not that I will probably ever watch this, but
yes, and I've seen TikToks of this, and 2 of the women are exes.
Listen, the queer community is small, okay?
It's small.
I realized that recently because I was talking with a queer friend that I had met through a certain fandom that's in the tri-state area. So like we'd met up at a tri-state meetup, and they were like talking about a friend of theirs. And I was like, wait a minute, is it this person? And like I showed them a picture of me with that person, and they're like, absolutely. And they pulled up their picture with them, and I was like, what? I was like, what? And then like a couple months back, the same thing had happened with a different friend and a different person in the same like group that I'm in. And I'm like, fuck, this community is small, because the person from a few months ago lives in LA. So I'm like, the fuck? I was like, this is like some small world shit. Like, what? I'm surprised I didn't recognize anybody on the Ultimatum. No, I'm just kidding. I don't date, so like it's not that surprising, actually, people.
No, it reminds me of this tweet I saw years and years ago of this woman, lesbian, having a conversation with a straight man, and straight man goes, "Hey, do you know this person?" And the lesbian's like, "Not all gay people know each other." And she's like, and I walked away, not mentioning that I was once engaged to that woman in 2013.
Facts. Oh man. Oh Lord. But yes. Queer community can be messy. The queer community can be beautiful. The queer community can be everything all at once.
Yes.
Everything everywhere all at once, to be honest.
Some could say.
Oh man. Did you end up finding yourself like, oh, I really like this particular person like over everybody else?
I do really like Xander. Lexi is like, I like Lexi and Ray, like I said. Because like Ray's really sweet, and Lexi is like, she has like that good balance of like chaos and also
a good head on her shoulder.
Yeah, good head. Kind of a weird.
Especially considering she was like 24. I was like, girl, I was barely functioning at 24. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, how are you as well-rounded as you are when you're 10 years younger than me and I'm barely just starting to figure it out?
Yeah. And it does help that I like see these girls on TikTok, you know, like.
Yeah.
I know. I'm saying like what they're doing now, and it's like because this was filmed back in like 2021.
Yeah, it was filmed a while ago.
Yeah.
At the time of this taping, Lexi and Ray have broken up, and I'm just like,
That is
have you
such
now?
like a gut. That is such like a punch in the gut. Like,
It was because they were so happy and talking about their wedding on the reunion, and then they were like, just kidding, fade to black, they're not together anymore.
yeah.
And I was just like, what? What happened? What usually happens? No, I'm just kidding. Jealousy, probably, to be honest. It was probably something of jealousy.
Yeah.
Because as much as I do like Lexi, she did get jealous at times. So I was just like,
I feel like the whole thing just got to Lexi's head.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yep.
So we've been talking about the Ultimatum for way too long.
Way too long.
Let's move on to The Bear, which this is like the one thing I did not get to watch this week because I ran out of time. Because like my power was out for like a whole fucking day this week.
Oh, geez.
This was the thing I was planning to watch on that day. So I did not get that. So did you watch this?
Hold on. There we go. Sorry. I don't know what happened. My internet decided to crap out for a hot second. But it's funny. So you putting The Bear on the list reminded me, I need to start watching season 2. Because again, I am about television sometimes, especially if it's a streaming show, I have time to watch that later on.
Right.
Or whatever. I loved season 2. Season 1, and I was like, I'm gonna watch season 2, but like I just hadn't gotten around to it. These episodes were great. Episode 6 was, as my friend Laura and co-podcast hoster of our podcast said on Twitter, if you want to know what a 66-minute panic attack feels like, watch The Bear season 2 episode 6 Fishes. It was an hour and 6 minutes long, and it was chaos, like complete chaos, with the flashback to Christmas at his family's home like 5 years ago. I don't know. It said it in weeks. I had to do a Google conversion thing because I'm like, I don't work that way in my brain. It was like 250 something weeks prior to opening, because the whole thing season 2 is this many weeks to opening.
Right.
So that episode, I will say the guest stars were aces. Like they got some really great guest stars. John Mulaney was actually in this episode as cousin Michelle, who's played by Sarah Paulson, his friend Stevie, who everyone thinks is gay, but at the end of the episode he's like, guys, to answer your question that you've been asking around me but not to me, no, I'm not gay. Bob Odenkirk plays their uncle, Lee. Yeah, Uncle Lee. And then they got fucking Jamie Lee Curtis to play the mother. And she's phenomenal. Jamie Lee Curtis can do no wrong in my mind.
Yeah.
So, but she's phenomenal as the neurotic, mentally ill mother of this band of people. But I'm really sad you didn't get to see these episodes, because honestly, it changed my mind. About Richie. Like these episodes changed my mind about Richie. He has a moment of growth and a moment of finding his place, and ends up working out well for the finale when they open to the public and they're in a crisis, and he's like, I got you guys, and he actually like pulls it off phenomenally. Nice. And it's just, I'm like, Richie, I did not think by the end of this season I would actually say I like you, because I haven't liked you this whole time. He's annoyed the crap out of me this whole time. Yeah. And I'm just like, you're that annoying cousin that nobody wants around, but you're always around. And I liked his growth. It was very well done. It was well executed. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over the course of the final like 3 or 4 episodes. And so like, you're like, okay, you have to work your way up to, Richie's going to nail it and blow it out of the park, because it's opening night. They've got all these tables are behind. One of their cooks is out back. One of their new cooks that they just hired is out back smoking a crack pipe. and or a meth pipe. I forget which one it is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's doing drugs. And Carmy didn't get the freezer door fixed like he said he was going to, and so he gets locked in the freezer. So like it's chaos, and Richie looks at this chaos, and they're like, you have 5 minutes to turn this around. So he turns on a timer for 5 minutes. He goes, let's do this. And the next 5 minutes are beautiful. It's a beautifully orchestrated, like it's like a musical number. Like it's like without music. You know what I mean? Like it's beautifully chaos. It's controlled chaos.
Right.
And like he somehow manages to do it all, and I'm just like, weren't you the guy that was selling drugs in back of the store last season? I'm confused by this. Like, it's a wonderful growth for him, and I want to applaud the writers because they saw an opportunity and they took it. You know, they were like, we need to see something change with this character, or he's going to become one dimensional and just disappear off the page. You know, he's not going to be important anymore. And he needs to be important because he's an integral part of the story, because he's that missing link between Carmy and his dead brother, you know, so like he knows things. And so it's like, okay, you have to still have a reason to have him around. And this is their reason. He's good with the people. He's surprisingly good at being like the head. I forget what the term is because I've watched many Gordon Ramsay shows, but I still don't remember who it is that gives the orders in the kitchen and like makes sure the plates look perfect before they go out and knows which tables are getting what plates. Like that person in the kitchen, that's who Richie becomes. And he's just like, it's like a whole different person. You know, he starts wearing suits instead of ratty t-shirts. Like he starts to look the part over time, to the point of we get to the finale and he's like, oh, you need me to step up? I got you. No question, no qualms. He's like, I can absolutely do this, especially because Sid is dead on arrival. Like, I love Sid, but she is not a loud person. She cannot be that person in the kitchen. She's more focused on food, and that's where her focus should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say the finale left things a little open because I'm hoping they'll try to get another season. And the whole thing this season with Marcus and his mom, it's heartbreaking in the final moments. I don't know if you want to spoiler or not, but
Yeah, let's leave it not.
yeah. So in the final, it's heartbreaking in the final moments. You don't really know for sure what's really going on with that situation. There's a moment that does happen. It's you have your stomach drops. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where you're like, you know, but it's a success. Like their first night with the public is a success. Like the people love the food, and you start to think, okay, maybe Jimmy's gonna get his money back and they're gonna be out from under Jimmy's thumb. You know what I mean? Like we're hoping for that. And I just love Oliver Platt, so I'm always gonna love seeing him in a show, even if he's playing the asshole mafia type guy. Like but yeah.
Yeah, I watched I only got to watch a bit of episode 6 before
yeah.
before I ran out of time.
You need to watch the whole of episode 6 and then be like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The choice to release this whole season at once is a catastrophic mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep.
This could have been the most talked about show of the summer, and it could have dominated the conversation for 2 months, and now it probably won't last another 2 weeks.
Right, and the other thing is that like this show deserves Emmys. Like it deserves Emmys. There are multiple performances in the show that I'm like, you're an Emmy-winning performance. You know, you deserve Emmy buzz, and it barely gets any noise because they release all the episodes at once. They did it with season 1, and if they were Hulu would do it like they do their other shows, it would work out so much better because you'd be like, okay, I watched episode 1 this week, next week what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like there's that build up. And that's what's great about television that gets lost a lot with streaming. And we're seeing that more. We're seeing it a little bit less with streaming because streaming has kind of started to figure that out. but it still happens on occasion, and unfortunately for the bear, it's not in their benefit.
No. So yeah, that's my real regret with this show. Mainly, I just wish I had more time to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I had more of an opportunity to like sit with the show week by week, but it is what it is, and
Yep.
hopefully I'll be able to catch up with it soon. Let's move on to our next show, which is Nancy Drew, Season 4, Episode 6, The Web of Yesterdays.
I watched that today.
Cool. I did too. Because, as I said, my power went out, and my
Right.
DVR did not DVR this.
Oh no!
While it was,
So you had to wait.
I had to wait and watch it on demand.
I had to watch it on the CW app, and my app cut the episode off like 10 minutes before.
Oh.
So I went back in to like see if I could just fast forward the episode, and then the app was like, no, we're not going to function correctly. And I'm like, F you.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I gave up. I was like, I missed the last 10 minutes, but I'm like, I can figure it out probably next week what happened in that last 10 minutes. But yeah.
Yep. And I don't think this is the strongest episode of the season. I think it's for its credit, it is very creepy and very scary, and I do not want to see a giant spider ever.
Okay, that was the only note I had about this episode was also ghost spider, no thanks.
Ghost spider, no thank you. No.
Like, that thing was fucking huge. And I was just like, and it's a ghost spider, so you don't know where it is?
No.
Like, no thank you.
No thank you, ghost spider.
I will say, am I the only one? I mean, I know I'm not the only one because Kat and I talk about this show a lot, a friend of mine, and we talk about how frustrated we are with the Nancy Ace stuff. And I'm just so tired. I'm just like, they figured out harder things faster than this whole situation. And I'm like, you're just now you're using it to purposely keep them apart and try to like see Nancy with other people, which is what this Tristan guy is for. And it's like, I don't care.
Right.
I just want to see Nancy and Ace together because they have that chemistry that is deserving of screen time.
Right. I am of two minds about this, which is,
okay.
First, I think that the slow burn is rolling out rather nicely for my taste. I think they are pacing this out enough to just kind of be in it for a while, to just kind of be in that long haul of it. I think it shows a good amount of patience, which I admire.
I don't know. I just feel like it's been going on for too long prior to this season too. That's just me though. Like, and I like a good slow burn. Don't get me wrong. I like a good slow burn. I'm not usually in for shows to like worry about shipping. Like, I don't really like always ship something on a show. But these two, I'm just like at that point where I'm like, they both want to be together. God damn it, just let them. Let me have this one joy in life. Thank you.
The second thing I'll say is that outside of Ace, Nancy's romantic interests have been a colossal failure throughout this entire show.
Always.
The show.
I will say
it feels very compelled to put Nancy up with whoever. You know.
Yeah.
You know, the brooding sheriff or brooding FBI agent or whoever it is, or this new guy Tristan, who sucks, or like
he does.
The season 2
guy. The other thing I will say, like, not this week, but last week, she did that speed dating montage, whatever, and I'm like, this is me trying to date. Like, I'm like, you're so relatable, Nancy. You don't want to talk about my special interest? Well, then what is wrong with you?
Yeah, so I think like this impulse to like constantly put Nancy with someone, even if it isn't Ace, is a bad and
right. Like, I don't think
not worked out.
Yeah, I think maybe I'd feel a little less frustrated about the Nancy Ace stuff if it wasn't like feeling like, yeah, they kept trying to push her with somebody else. Like, even her friends and her dads are like, you should just get back out there. And it's like, no, let her stew in this for a while. She's heartbroken. Let her have her feelings.
Yeah, and it's a weirdly romanceless season. for what
It
for a show that
is.
has like a lot of runners between like Bess and her girlfriend, or like you know.
I also feel like the team itself is very disjointed this season. And it really showed in this. I mean, this episode was like the first time we really saw a good number of them come together and be like, oh, we have to do this. And it's because Nancy was in peril. I mean, shocking. Like, beyond that, like this season, I feel like it's been a lot of, okay, Bess and Nick are doing this thing, and George and Nancy are doing this thing. And it's like they're not coming together. And I get that the whole Ace and Nancy thing kind of puts a little bit of a into things, but like let them be awkward around each other. Like let them be together and be awkward, because then the group gets to be together.
Right. It almost makes me think that like maybe some of these schedules didn't line up perfectly. Like some of
that's
the
possible.
actor schedules did not line up perfectly, which is,
You make a good point. Did not think of that.
Yeah.
I'm only thinking selfishly about my needs as a viewer. Don't they know my needs? Come on.
Yeah.
But it's like they can't, going back to the whole Nancy dating someone or not letting Nancy be in her heartbreak, it's like they can't let Nancy be less than this very strong, independent woman. And I'm like, okay, but strong, independent women have moments of doubt and heartbreak and sadness and depression too. They're not always on all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially like in comparison to Bess, who like the show allowed Bess to like be fucked up about I forget what her name was.
Her last girlfriend?
Yeah, her ghost girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who I did love.
Yeah.
She was great. I love Sarah. But like the show allowed Bess to like be messed up about that for a while.
But I mean, okay, but then look at the way they characterize Bess in general as being this overly emotionally, slightly chaotic person. So it's like, oh, so she's, yeah, I say slightly to be nice. But like they're like, okay, she's allowed to be messy because she's always a mess.
Right.
So it's like it's that double standard that we usually see between males and females. Only this time they're like, oh, let's do it with two different females. And it's a little frustrating. It's not my biggest peeve, but it is a pet peeve I have about the show.
Right. Yeah. And also like
I will. Oh, sorry.
Like,
go ahead.
It's odd the lack of screen time that like Bess and her girlfriend have gotten this season, considering they are like the sole. They are the sole representation of gayness in the show.
They are also the sole romance left. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, I guess except for Nancy's dad and his girlfriend, I can't think of her name.
Erica Sarah.
Yeah. Sure.
That's the actress.
Yes. So I will say that the other thing I feel like is missing this season is we got a little bit of it last week with Nancy's bio dad and George's dad teaming up a little bit. Like we saw a little bit of that. We got to see that like funness of Ryan.
Yes.
Is that his name? Ryan? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I wrong? I feel like I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong. But we got to see his fun side, and like I've missed that this season. I'm like, we need some like comic relief over here. Like this season has not had as much comic relief as it usually does. Right. And it's disappointing. Especially this episode. We could have used a little bit this episode. Like just throw in a random joke here or there, like come on, be a little. I mean, it was a little funny with the ferret, but like not really.
Yeah, no.
That damn ferret.
Yeah.
That'll be her nemesis all season. You think the big mystery is this whole thing that's been going on with the dead bodies, but no, actually it's the ferret.
It's the ferret.
Chunky.
You might think this has just been one long ad for filtered water, but no. It's actually been a ferret awareness campaign.
Yeah. Anyways.
So let's move on to our next episode, which is Silo Season 1, Episode 10, titled Outside. This is the season finale.
Yeah.
There's a certain bit of this where I look at this episode and everything that's come before it, and I go, it's good, but what was the point? You know? Like, what was the point of what I was watching? You know? Because
it felt anticlimactic. It really did. Like, it was just like, to be honest, like, I went into this show thinking, okay, the point is for all of the people to get outside because powers that be are lying about the outside, right? Like, that's what you're thinking. Like, that's what you think it is. And it takes 10 episodes for any one of them to be outside and for us to actually see the real outside, and to find out that they're not really lying. They're lying about, they have multiple layers of lies to hide the truth, which is what people thought the truth was all along. Like, it's just like, what?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, what?
So like I can see the pieces of like they're lying about the outside.
But they're not lying about the outside.
But also they let the people that go outside see a beautiful oasis. But that's the lie.
Exactly. It's just,
so why? And it's like, why lie to the cleaners? Is it just to get them to clean? And is there something bad that would happen if the monitors didn't get cleaned? And I feel like I'm going in circles. Like, it's okay.
Well, I mean, we're living in a silo, so you really are going in circles.
Right. I was thinking about this earlier of like, it's the problem I have with like psychological thrillers of like, once you say that the reality that you know can't be trusted, then you have carte blanche to do whatever you want, you know? Right. Anything at that point can happen because you set it up where the world isn't real, or your perception of the world isn't real. So once you say that, like, and this goes like all the way back to the beginning of the series of like, once you begin it from a point of the monitors are fake and the monitors aren't showing us the real world, and then take that to the visors aren't showing us the real world, it becomes like you've almost like boxed yourself in, and like I kind of like, what are we even doing here? You know, like at what point can you just do whatever the fuck you want?
Exactly.
As a writer, you know, like.
Yeah, and so a friend of mine that read the books, like, went into this knowing what was going to happen because they've read, it's a book series, so I imagine we'll probably get more seasons. But they were miffed about some things, and one of the big ones was they were like, took them way longer than it should have to reveal the true identity of the quote unquote villain of the story. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, in the book it was like within the first third of the book. And I'm just like, that's weird. Like, there are choices that were made with this show that I'm not sure I agree with. And to further on your, like, what are we doing here? Like, it just feels like they built up this whole thing of a rebellion, of the people fighting back, to make it feel like, okay, this finale was going to be some big cliffhanger of some kind. And there was a bit of a surprise in those final moments when you like realize, oh, the outside is the lie. But at the same time, you're like, okay, well, what happens to the rebellion on the inside of the silo now? Like, you know, like, it didn't feel like they built that up enough for us to care beyond this season.
Right.
For that, what was happening, because she was outside and she was the head of the rebellion. So it's like, okay, what?
Well, even,
I mean, I'm sure the lower levels if this gets explored further, the lower levels are going to be like ground zero. But, you know, because they believe her more than anyone.
Yeah. Well, like, even beyond that, like the final moments of the finale showing that like there are potentially dozens, if not hundreds, of other silos.
Yeah.
How does that become? What kind of Chekhov's gun are you enacting here? I'm like, how can that possibly be implemented here? You know, like, it's not like you can go. It's not like she can go into any of those other silos.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, she's. I mean, yes, there's a city like way off, but like it doesn't look like it's inhabited. So like her choices are potentially walk this deserted land and lose all the air she might have and die in the middle of nowhere, try to get into another silo, which is not going to happen because the rules are once you're on the outside, you're on the outside, you don't come back in. Or by some miracle somehow get to the city and find somebody. Like it's just like there doesn't seem any hope of anything.
Right.
And so it's like I don't know where this is going.
Right. And even then it's like, is the air poisonous? Because like a lot of people have brought up that like the bodies of the mayor and his wife on the hill
Aren't there.
weren't quite right. Like and like the mythology of this is that everyone who goes outside dies. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they go up on the hill and they die. And in that there should be, you know, a lot of bodies and suits out there. So like that goes to like what I was saying about like once you say the reality that you see is wrong or can't be trusted, then anything can happen. Then you could say, well, Holston and his wife are out there somewhere alive, you know?
Yeah, we never said the air was poisonous. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So it's like, what's the way forward here? What am I what am I supposed to expect? Or like, where am I supposed to be at with this show now?
I also want to know what are they so scared of the stars or the lights in the sky thing that they would send a man who has given them every information they asked for and didn't really participate in anything except mapping lights, you know, like he didn't do anything. He'd look into it beyond that. Like he was just like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to map this every night because I'm curious about the lights. Like, I don't care what they are, but like, what are they so scared about with those lights that they would send him to the mines?
Well, like what we see in like this entire show is that like there's a kind of fear and paranoia of like almost intelligence, like a kind of intellect, like knowledge of science. Like you think of if you see like the things that like they have worked to like expunge from the silo, it's like
yeah,
knowledge of the outside world, or like how
a book about Atlanta or whatever it was.
Book about Atlanta, or like you know, obviously all the information about like astronomy and astrology has like been just like deleted from the cultural consciousness, or larger mechanical knowledge of like you can't like figure out how to make magnifying glass, or you can't figure out how to make an elevator.
Yeah.
And like these are all things of like controlling a populace. You know, like outlawing knowledge of like how an elevator works. It's like would like make your society easier, which is like
and more separated.
That's like a fundamental systemic like oppression. You know. But like overall, there's just like a lot of higher knowledge that has been outlawed.
But it's okay to have an IT department.
Yeah. Well, it's like the things that are physically needed to run the silo are okay, but anything there's almost like a surplus of that is not allowed. Like as long as you have like the basic stuff, that is okay. It's like running on like the lowest common denominator of efficiency possible, you know?
Yeah. It's one of I love dystopian era type media. Like I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games. Like I like the Maze Runner, you know. I like those things where people are put into a post-apocalyptic society and it's like have at it. Have fun taking down the government, taking down the man. Like that's my bread and butter. Like I love that kind of stuff because I want to see it in reality and it's never going to happen in reality.
Right.
The little guys are never going to have the opportunity to rise up, which they should have that opportunity.
Right.
Like, could you imagine if, like, the poorer neighborhoods in the South were suddenly to, like, rush on Washington and take over the government? Like, that would be phenomenal. Like, I would love to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also find it interesting, and this could just be because, these people live in a silo and have for many years, and it's like survival of the fittest genetics. But like, there's a lot of white people, and there's a handful of black people, and that's it. Like, there's not really any other races, and it's just like, okay.
Right.
Maybe the other silos have the other ones. Like, who knows? Like, maybe that's true. Like, maybe back in the day they divide them up by some kind of like social norms, social constraints. You know what I mean? So who knows?
Right. Well, and like we've already seen them like implement eugenics. Like it's not hard to imagine that like they've also done segregation
Yeah.
on some level.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I do not know Common as anything other than the rapper from the 90s. So it was phenomenal to see him as such a character that I love to hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's such a good, intimidating and antagonistic presence throughout it.
Yeah, and like he was a good red herring for the longest time. Like, you think, "Oh, he's the problem. Like, he's the one running the show." And then you're like, but I kind of had a suspicion about Mr. Head of IT for a while, because I'm like,
Right.
he's head of IT. This involves multiple cameras. He's involved somehow. But like, on the surface level, surface viewers, they're going to be like, "Oh, that guy is very suspicious because he's very aggressive," and so it's like, okay, he's clearly got something to hide. He's clearly the bad guy here. Like, that's the way the writing has painted him, and they do a great job of it up until, what was it, a couple episodes prior to this one, that we find out that no, he's not.
Yeah,
He's number two. He's number 2.
Mm-hmm. No, I said this last week, but it's like I appreciate the way that like the the show goes. We all know that that the mayor is like the guy. Like, we know that the mayor's the guy. We're not gonna pretend like you don't know.
He came into the position under suspicious means.
Yeah.
He's clearly like not to be trusted.
Clearly not to be trusted. Yeah, like we're not gonna change it at the last minute to like stump you all or like subvert you all. No, like we all know what the deal is.
And honestly, I got a bit of Hunger Games vibes from like this finale episode, because when she goes out, someone makes the comment that this is the largest viewing audience they've had for someone going to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Even Holson, who was very beloved, didn't get this many people. And it's just like, are we like making this like a competition? Like, what? Like, are we literally counting the numbers of who watches what at what time? Like, I'm like, why does this feel like Hunger Games? Why does this feel like this is like the edge of Hunger Games? I mean, they're watching something on television that they're forced to watch. I mean, they're not all forced to watch it, but like, like they're encouraged to watch.
Right. Well, like it is similar as like her being a kind of quasi face for like this rebellious murmurings in the silo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like whatever happens to her, like it's the entire point of like her going outside, like of her not telling anyone that she didn't ask to go outside, is that like she's a problem.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't like pass my notice that the mayor and President Snow are very similar in personality type, and they actually kind of look similar.
Yes.
Yeah. But to be fair, a lot of those teen dystopian era books and movies have those archetypes. They have those character archetypes. So for me, that connection moment is Hunger Games, because that's the one that I love the most. But like, I could easily make a connection to, any other dystopian type book or movie, and be like, yeah, I see those elements here too. But yeah, so it was a really good finale. It sets it up for more, but there's still like, I wouldn't have given it like, oh, that was a fantastic finale. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I am encouraged that there is season 2 coming.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel a lot better.
Yes.
So let's Jump to our next show, which is Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 4, Among the Lotus
Did you have
Eaters.
time to watch this?
I did have time to watch this, actually. I had time to watch this.
The only note I have is Ortega's!
I love Ortega so much.
I like to headcanonly believe that Ortega's goes by they, them. I just canically, like, in my head, feel like that's true.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ortega's, it has been my favorite from day one of this show. You know, Ortega stepped on screen, made a snide, snarky comment, and I was like, them. I want them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and this was, honestly, this was the episode that really lets them shine, and it's better for the show, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, so I think this is the season's weakest episode so far.
I mean, it wasn't phenomenal, but yeah.
That's also by nature of this season being a roll banger. It's just that real good episodes.
I mean, we're on like episode 4, and I can tell you everything that happened in the first 3 episodes, which is not very common on a television show.
Right. But I wish that if this were a like Ortega's centric episode, you know, which is what it's designed to be, I think it needed to focus on her/them more.
Yes.
You know,
I agree. Yep.
You know, if it's going to do that, it needs to commit to it, and it wants to just give Ortega's part of the episode. And
like, you knew from the first moments that, like, oh, Ortega's is going to have a big role in this because it's their personal log that's being spoken out. And you're just like, all right, well, why am I not seeing more of them? Why are we focusing on the planet a lot? Like, I get it. There's 3 guys down there, but like, that's not the meat of the story. The meat of the story is the Enterprise being able to save those that are on the planet.
Right. Well, and like,
so
the problem as I see it is we don't learn anything new about Ortega, so we didn't already know before this. You know, we know Ortega's is cocky. She's a cocky pilot. You know, Tom Paris walked so that she could run, and
right. Valid.
And like, we still like that all still comes through, but like, we don't know anything more about like what drives her as a pilot. We don't know anything about like what she's been through, what her past is like. You know, if she has partners,
and we could have seen more with her and Spock. You know what I mean? Like, they could have developed that bond between Ortegas and Spock because they were the 2 that were commanding the ship. And it's like, they were like, no, let's just do it half-ass. And I'm like, seriously? Like, come on. Like, you could have had such a bonding moment with them. Like, Ortegas could have been like, well, listen, this voice in my ceiling told me who I am and what I do and like all this stuff, so now I remember, sort of. But like, also, I feel like it could have been great if they'd like evolved that further and Ortega's been like, you are Spock and this is what you do. You know what I mean? Like, it would have just added more to the bond of them going through it together.
Right. Or even you know, even short of that, like hitting her with like Chapel, who they've shown like the strongest bond throughout the show. Like, strengthening that friendship or dynamic. Because just because Chapel has ships does not mean that this is any less full polycule.
Listen, I will ship. And like, the thing about Star Trek that I love is that like, I don't feel weird about shipping all kinds of types of people.
That's right.
Or all kinds of types of relationships, because that's the beauty of Star Trek. They encourage that. They're like, we don't conform to Earth social society constructs. Like, we are whatever we are. And I like that about Star Trek. And like, I started watching Strange New Worlds a few weeks ago, and I said to my friend, is it weird that I ship Ortega's and Uhura? And they're like, no, ship whoever the fuck you want. Like, they were like, do what you want.
And I'm like, and then basically invented shipping.
It did. And then like a few episodes later, I was like, never mind. I want Ahura, Chapel, and Ortega's to be in a threesome polyamorous relationship, and they're like, that tracks.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we could have had those bonds strengthening between any of those four characters because they're all on the ship. Everyone is on the ship except for Lon, Pike, and the doctor. His name like escaped me for a second. I was like,
yeah.
Anyways,
Pike the
but
doctor
yeah, like,
and Lon.
And Lon, yeah.
Who's also one of my favorite characters. I love
Lon
so much.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't like her at first, but she's growing on me.
Oh.
She's definitely growing on me. But I have a hard time. I said this prior. Like I have a hard time connecting to characters that are female. So like has to be a very strong, like independently minded vibe from the very moment I meet them. And Lon didn't really give that off at first because she was very quiet and, tried to just do things by the book instead of like speaking her mind. And so like it took me a little while to like her. The moment she started speaking her mind, I was like, oh yeah, I like her. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah. No, this goes back to what I said earlier. If there's a woman on screen, 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I would fucking die for her. Fucking love her.
This show has actually made me want to go back and retry the original series. I tried to watch it during COVID, and I got about most of the way through. And then I was like, I don't care that much about these characters. But like this personification of Spock, I'm like, oh, it makes original Spock, Leonard Nimoy, make so much more sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, I have a different appreciation of these characters. Let me go watch the original series again.
Yeah, no, I feel that they work better in the movies than they do in the original series.
Yeah, because I love the movies.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't understand why I can't connect to this damn fucking show. I was like, because I am a next gen person to the end of Earth. You know what I mean? Like next gen is my show. And Data is my character. So I'm just like, why do I not like Spock? Like they are basically two sides of the same coin. And so I was like, how do I not like Spock? And then I watched this show and I'm like, oh wait, okay, I get it now. I like him. Like I really like Spock. And I think it's also like nothing against Leonard Nimoy and nothing against the 70s, or was it the 60s? It might have been the 60s. Whatever. Like nothing against those. I think that detaches it from my brain because I'm like, it's older. I can't understand the tech as much because at this point that tech is outdated. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not very futuristic anymore because it's from the 60s and we have better tech now. Like, so, but I still have an appreciation for the characters because they come from, we meet them in this series prior to who they are in original series. And so I'm like, I now have a better appreciation because I saw them when they first started, when they were younger.
Right. No, it's also like TOS is very of its time of 60s television.
Yes.
So
I also am not a huge William Shatner fan, so like that takes me out too. So it's like, all right. Yeah. But anyways, no. I thought this episode was going to be more interesting than it was because it implied like, the hype of it implied that, oh, Pike was going to come into something about his past. And I'm like, oh, finally, we're going to learn more about Pike's past. And it's like, it's kind of a nothing. It's a throwaway past thing.
Right.
So it's like, what?
Right, yeah.
It was disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's coupled with him and Batel, who's they don't have no. I've seen people say they have no chemistry. I would say they don't have good enough chemistry.
They have limited chemistry.
Like extremely limited chemistry. I think Anton Mount and
I'm not invested. I'm not invested. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both extremely charming actors.
When they get in the room together, it's like they forget their charm, and I'm just like, you guys are great actors. Like, don't be in the room together. Like, it's just like, don't be in the room together. Yeah. I like you guys separately, but not in the same situation. Like, and And I think they're trying to really play into Pike's insecurity around relationships and the, fragility of them. And they're trying, but I'm like, it's detriment of being a good relationship on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, whatever. We need more romance on the show. Just kidding. We need more queer romance. Sorry, not straight romance.
No.
I got enough of that. Listen, I need Ortegas to have a girlfriend, okay? Listen, there is nothing that is not queer about Ortegas, okay?
Yeah.
Even in the time beyond social constructs. She looks at Chapel way too intensely to not be like, oh, I am picturing you naked. Listen, I said what I said.
On that note, let's
move on.
Let's move on to our last show of the week, which is Secret Invasion Season 1, Episode 3, titled Betrayed. This show is bad, y'all.
It is terrible. Okay, I had heard little rumors here and there that it wasn't that great, but I was like, all right, I'm still going to give it my own shot because Marvel is very divisive, if anything, so I'm like, some people like it, some people don't. Like, I'm like, I might like it if other people hate it, whatever. But no, this show, which is supposed to be about Fury, like you think centered on Fury and Fury's relationships with certain people, like it was going to be badass because Fury himself is a badass person. It is boring as fuck. It's just terrible.
It's not good. Here's the thing. We can talk about the end of this episode later because it is profoundly bad all on its own. But if you're gonna do a paranoid spy thriller, you have to be paranoid.
Right.
Why is it that when Fury, in particular, runs into someone, he's not like, hey, are you perhaps a Skrull? No.
No, he just automatically assumes.
Why is everyone on the show assuming that they are the person that they're purporting to be? It doesn't make any sense. All of these people are shapeshifters. What are you doing? Are you new here?
Especially after he learns that there's not just those handful of people that he remembers from prior to the snap. No, there are millions of them. Therefore, 9 times out of 10, you run into someone, they are a fucking Skrull. Why are you assuming they're not?
Why?
Come on, bro. You're married to a Skrull. Come on, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You're Nick Fury. Like, you're not stupid.
Even not Fury. Everyone else, like, Talos just sees people and he's like, oh, you must be a person I know.
That's
why would you assume that? Like,
you're a Skrull, sir. Like, why would you think?
Why would you just think that? Do you know? Can you just pick a Skrull out of a lineup? Like.
I will say Olivia Colman is my favorite part of this show because she's like, oh, I'm just going to burst into these places and do whatever the fuck I feel like and just assume everyone is a Skrull, which is what you should be doing.
What you should be doing. It doesn't make any sense.
She's the best part. And I'm like, why is she like only here once on a blue moon? Like, she comes in, cuts off a finger, tortures a guy, basically almost kills him, and then walks out. Like,
yeah.
And that's all we see of her. And it's just like, okay, Olivia Colman, come on. But yeah, it's lazy writing. And I feel like Marvel has gotten to the point of, oh, well, everyone's going to watch it anyway because it's got that Marvel insignia on it.
Right.
We don't actually have to try. Oh, no, we still want you to try because we know these characters in and out, so we know what they're normally like, and you're pissing on that.
Yeah. Like, the amount that I truly care about Marvel at this point is very low. And I really tried to like this. I tried to come in with an open mind, and the open mind said, this is bullshit. Secret Invasion, I have to tell you, killing a woman is not a twist.
Nope.
It's just straight up, it's not anything, really. You're just killing a woman.
you're proving that, which a lot of fans have already known for a while about Marvel, is that women can only be a certain kind of thing in the Marvel universe. And none of them have longevity, and none of them have positive impacts.
Yeah.
It's one of those two things. You either die really quickly and have a positive impact, or you have a negative impact and you stay around for a while. Like, it's just, I thought that Maria Hill had like circumvented those certain categories that they keep women in, and then straight up first episode they're like, oh no, she's out. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I was like, shut the fuck up. She would not get taken out that easily. Come on. Come on.
Yeah. No. I said this a couple weeks ago. Marvel only allows women to be villains or martyrs.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
In the long scope of Marvel, I'm not talking. People said this to me on TikTok. Like, have you not been paying attention to Phase 4? I'm not talking about Kate Bishop or Yelena, but like
they have tragic stories. Like, they still sort of fit. Like, yeah.
I'm talking about our OGs, or ones that have been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
even in the comics, like, I love Stan Lee with all my heart. I do. But, his comic writing and his, storytelling was of a certain time. And that certain time did not put women in equal footing to men.
Yeah.
Just gonna say it.
Yeah. And even, again, I said this last week, even just Secret Invasion as a plot, it is kind of anti-Semitic and xenophobic.
Yep.
And that's just the story. Secret Invasion has even kind of couched that a little bit to say, no, they've been here for a long time. Because in the comics would be, hey, now we got Skrulls.
Yeah.
But doesn't make it any less xenophobic.
Right.
To say,
like,
hey, they're
and they
new
tried
people
to,
in your country, and they want to destroy it from within.
Not only that, they also, like, they tried to, like, make it seem less xenophobic, because they're like, Nick Fury is in charge of this. Like, he is a black man. He is of a lesser race, and he's fighting for these guys to have, equal footing. And I'm like, that still doesn't make it less than what you're already actually making it be. Like, that doesn't change it just because you make it a black man instead of a white man. Like,
yeah, and this episode is actively diminishing, like, the legacy of Nick Fury by saying almost everything that Nick Fury did was by nature of the Skrulls.
Yeah.
On his own, he probably would not be director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that sucks. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's erasing what we've known about him for all these years, and we've built him up as, and you're saying, oh, well, no, it's actually on the backs of somebody else.
Yeah.
That's just further pushing the narrative that black people cannot succeed on their own.
Yeah. So it's weird.
It's just, yeah. I was just like, and they make him out to be like, they also make him out to be this, like, caricature of a strong person, because he went through the snap and he came back, and, like, he had addled his brain. No, it didn't. No. He's still Nick Fury. He's still strong. He's still smart. He still says motherfucking all the time. Like, come on. Like, he's still Nick Fury. You're just trying to change the narrative to fit this crazy ass story that you're trying to write and tell. Like, and it's not working on either front. So you're either way.
No. And yeah. They have entirely wasted Emilia Clarke in the show.
They did. And I was, like, really excited first with this episode, because it was revealed that Gaia is actually helping her dad, from the inside. And I'm like, oh, good. She's a revolutionary. Like, she's good. She's with Fury. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was, like, excited, because I was like, ooh, here's more character development. And the minute we get that character development, Garrick takes her out, and it's just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, seriously? Like, Marvel, we need more than just men to carry a story.
Yeah.
Oh man! And then it turns out that Nick Fury's wife is in cahoots with. I'm like, do we really need all that subterfuge and lying and falsehoods around everything? Like, just be out and proud about what you're doing. Like,
Yeah. Well, even
like your husband point blank asked you, "Are you talking to this man?" And she should have just been like, "Yeah." What's of it? You were gone for like 10 years. Like,
yeah.
she thought he was dead. Like, I wouldn't blame her for going to that guy,
Yeah. And even just Nick Fury having a wife in general. What?
Honestly, to be fair, when it was revealed he had a wife, I was like, wait, does that mean he's also a Skrull? Because like I literally actually gave me a little bit of paranoia because I was like, is Nick Fury actually a Skrull in disguise and we just haven't seen it yet? Because like why would he be married to a Skrull?
Yeah.
But then I was just like, okay, maybe they're trying to show that he's a nice and kind person, blah 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 blah, whatever. So, but I did for a little bit think, oh, maybe Nick Fury's a Skrull because the audience, has more wariness about all these characters than the goddamn characters themselves.
Yeah. I just at no point cared about Nick Fury's secret family, like, or secret marriage. Like, I don't care.
It wasn't important to the story unless later on it's revealed he is actually a Skrull, which would be awesome, but I doubt it's going to happen because Marvel has become as tired with us as we have become with it.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. I'm like, then stop pushing out so many shows each year if you don't care. Because that's clearly what this show is telling us, is that they don't care about storyline anymore.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. We just can't let Marvel keep getting away with secret families.
Mm-hmm.
We can't keep letting them get away with this. We were too soft on them during Age of Ultron. They can't keep doing this. Just no. You don't get brownie points for retconning a character's secret family.
Yeah, no. Like, no.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Stop retconning your characters.
Yeah.
I'm just... I can't. I do want to say that, like, it was nice to hear Nick Fury say to Talos, I don't know if it was this episode or the previous one, because I watched a couple of them, in quick succession, to get it out of the way. But, like, I loved when he said to Talos, are you out of your motherfucking lizard mind? Or lizard ass mind or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, that's the Nick Fury I've been looking for, and you're only just now showing it. Like, I also loved the moment where they were like, are the other guys going to show up, talking about the Avengers? And I'm just like, nah, don't you know their contracts are up?
Yeah, they're not coming. Both know they're not coming.
They only had an 8-film / TV show contract. They ain't coming. It's kind of like that nod that they always do with, like, on X-Men or Deadpool, where they're like, oh yeah, well, especially on Deadpool, where they were like, well, there's only 2 people at the X-Men mansion, and we're just like, only 2? More like you only paid for 2 people. Marvel.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah,
this one is dead on arrival.
Yeah, we're halfway to the show. I don't want to continue talking about this show anymore.
No.
I don't want to keep doing this.
And I had high hopes for it because I love Emilia Clarke, and I love the character of Maria Hill. I was like, oh, good, we get more this, and then it's like, nope. Yeah. I don't know why I bother.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways.
So that's our show.
It was all over the place. It was just messy this week. I mean, seriously, like, a lot of our shows had a lot of mess.
That's true.
They did.
It is true. So,
anyways,
we actually don't know what's going to happen. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, Mads, where can we find you online?
So on Twitter, I'm at Dorothy NYC89. Dorothy, like, the girl from Kansas. NYC89. That's where you can find me. If you really want to go find me on TikTok, I'm not that interesting on TikTok, but you can. I think it's Dorothy NYC89 there too, but I could be wrong. Watch me give false information. But yeah, I tend to keep the same usernames across socials just to make it easier on my brain. But yeah, I'm not as fun or exciting on TikTok as Drew is. I occasionally talk about books and then occasionally remember that I have a TikTok and do a funny video and then we're done. But yeah, mostly I'm on Twitter for however long that hellscape continues.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at Drew Koenig, and I'm on TikTok at Drew_Koenig. But I'm not. I mean, you can follow me if you want. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your life. I'm not there. You can if you want.
You can also, if you are inclined to read my thoughts on television, I write for telltaletv.com. So
nice.
Can also find me there.
Yeah. And also at drewkoenig.substack.com, where theoretically I'm doing weekly newsletters. I'm not, but I could.
You could be.
I could be. I did for a while, and then I forgot. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Not Another TV Pod. Like I said, I'm putting up clips of the podcast throughout the week, and feel free to reach out. Whatever you want at Not Another TV Podcast at gmail.com. Any thoughts, comments, listener questions, show suggestions, goat submissions, whatever you got.
Request for me to never come on here again. Whatever you want to say.
Whatever you got.
Oh, man.
And you can find more of our episodes on all of your podcatching devices, including Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And we're also up on YouTube. Be sure to leave a review or subscribe. Until next week, I want you all to remember, stay out of the fucking ocean. It's none of your business. I'm out. Goodbye.